a sudden I see a sale. I'm just like, who's that? My family bought it already. My friends have bought it already. Who's another sale? Who's that?
Yeah, the first
And
sale.
it's just like mind blown. It's just like, oh shit, I actually bought a product, waited it for 2-3 weeks for that to come in, made a listing, created the title, the key features, put all this work in, and now I'm selling it to complete strangers.
Yeah.
This actually works.
Yo, my people, welcome back to The Venture Room, the #1 podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs. We're on a mission to find you your next business opportunity. And today we're looking at Amazon FBA.
Yes.
So I brought in one of the big dogs doing 7 figures on Amazon. But let him introduce himself.
Yes, so my name is Ben. I do quite a lot of things, to be completely honest, but primarily I'm known for Amazon FBA, selling products basically effectively from China onto the UK marketplace effectively, and that's how I made my name effectively, is through selling online.
So what is Amazon FBA for people that don't know?
So Amazon FBA essentially is using Amazon's fulfillment network, effectively all of the warehouses that they brought in the UK, which I believe now is about 16 or 18 of them, and effectively using them to your advantage and selling products online. So you don't have to do any of the picking, the packing, the collecting or anything like that. You get them to do all the hard work for you.
And why did you pick Amazon FBA? Why do you think it's better?
Because you know what? All the other business models out there require a lot more. So let's say you're setting up a business any day, like anything at all, you need to worry about staff, you need to worry about a lease, you need to worry about various costs and stuff. Whereas here in the very beginning, all you need is literally a laptop, start off. Everything is done through your computer effectively. And then if you want to scale up, if you want to employ people, that's not a problem. But in the very beginning, it's a pretty easy, I wouldn't say it's an easy business model, but it's a relatively simple and pretty straightforward compared to a lot of the other risks that you have to take.
Yeah, of course. I like Amazon. It's one of my favorite business models.
Why?
Because I feel like it's realistic. Anyone can really do it if you put the hours in. Like
100%.
The demand is there, the products, you know where to get them from.
Yeah.
It's just literally work ethic. Which is the key thing.
The thing is, Amazon has been known now for so long, and compared to dropshipping or Shopify or anything like that, where you have to create a website completely from scratch, right? And nobody knows who you are. You have to spend a lot of time and money on marketing, advertising, and so on. Whereas Amazon, you set up a listing, you create the best possible images effectively, and you can literally make sales from day one. That has happened to me many times. It has happened to my students a lot as well. And it's something that I think a lot of people underappreciate because they don't realize how tough it is to get your name out there.
Yeah, 100%, man. So before we dive into Amazon, I want to get to know a bit more about you. So I want to talk about life before Amazon. So my first question is, what did you want to be when you were younger?
God, is this one of those, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a firefighter or something like that? No, you know what? What I really wanted to be is, because I'm Lithuanian, right? Lithuania, for those of you that don't know, is actually ex-Soviet Union. We escaped in 1991, and we're known for basketball. And ever since I was a little kid, I was just like, right, I need to get into basketball effectively. That's my passion. That's
you got
my
the height because you were like...
Yeah, 6'2" effectively, but it was just a good pastime, and I got really good at it. But then eventually when we came here to UK, and I realized that, hey, nobody cares about basketball. It's all football. It's all, all the other sports effectively. So I was just like, right, gonna have to drop that because it's no longer interesting as much, and I'm not as passionate about it anymore. But to be honest, all I wanted to do ever since I was little is move away from the mindset of, because in Soviet Union, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to this, is the fact that in order for you to get ahead, you need to get a good job, you need to work extremely hard. If the boss asks you to work 12, 14, 16-hour days, you got to do it, right? And this is how you're going to step up. This is how you're going to move up to the top of the top of the company effectively. And I was just like, I'll be honest, I don't really want to work that hard. My parents, one of them is a carpenter, effectively worked hard all his life. My mum has been a hotel, maid, effectively doing all the rooms and everything. And I just remember seeing them, like, how hard they work. And I'm just like, surely life can be a little bit better than this. Like, what can I do to not have the exact same lifestyle as they do, where you just work hard every day, all day, 6 days a week, and then you try and rest on the 7th. And this is where, like, various kind of business models start to come in. It's just like, I studied business management in school. That didn't teach me anything. I studied business management in university. That didn't teach me anything.
I did the same thing because they teach you how to be a manager at a company. They don't teach you how to set up and run a company.
Exactly. And most people that do teach you these things, they don't actually have ran a business themselves.
Yeah.
They will tell you the theory of, okay, what economies of scale is, what macro and microeconomics are, but effectively how you run a business, how you manage finances, what you should be doing in certain situations, how to manage stress and everything. That just comes from experience, right? And I was just like, right, after university, going to get myself a job, but I'm still going to be on the thought process of, hey, what can I do to eventually escape that job? Because that's just a bridge between school and then eventually having my own business. And then, of course, I went to recruitment and hated every minute of it. So that pushed me a little bit quicker to find something to do for myself.
Recruitment's quite, I heard it's quite lucrative though. You can make a bit of money.
It's shit. No, to be completely honest, recruitment is good if you are hardworking into something that you actually don't really like, because nobody in their right mind will grow up thinking, hey, I want to be a recruiter, right? You kind of fall into it. And then people that fall into it, some of them will do really well with it because they have the natural sales ability and are able to schmooze a lot of clients, because you need to have good candidates and you need to have good clients effectively. And I'm not that person. I don't really like to kiss ass too much, and that was my downfall effectively. Hence why I didn't do so well.
But that's the corporate lifestyle, isn't it? Like you kiss ass.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. You work Monday to Friday every single day from 8 till 6, and then afterwards you go to the pub to try and forget about how hard you worked, and you still speak to your work colleagues about work. So, and I was just like, that's not for me really. So ever since 21, 22 years old, I'm like, right, what can I do? What can I do to get out of this as quickly as possible?
But it's quite interesting that like your parents would have had that mindset of the traditional, 9 to 5, get your house and whatever.
Yep.
I wonder what made your mindset different. Like, were you born as an entrepreneurial mindset? Or?
I don't know if it was born, to be completely honest. It's just, I'll be dead honest. I just didn't want to work hard for somebody else and make them money. It's that simple. And it's just like, and even now thinking about it, it's just like when I started off my first business, Amazon FBA, and many of the other things that failed, every single time my parents were just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? What are you going to do with this? Like, there was no, they were coming from a good place, right? Because they want to look out for me, absolutely. But at the same time, they just didn't believe in it because they didn't know any other way. And I'm just like, I want to at some point stop trading my time for money, however much money, and actually do something where I put something into the market and then let them decide.
And obviously they wanted the best for you.
Yeah.
But they just saw all the risks coming up.
Exactly.
So they wanted you to stick to a safer path.
Exactly.
So you get where they're coming
from.
Well,
see, the thing is that in my opinion, it's just like your family in the very beginning, when you're starting off a business, ideally you want to keep it to yourself as much as possible. Because in my opinion, there are certain family members who will be supportive, but they'll be very concerned for you, right? So they will try and push you away because guess what? You like, and they're right. You're going into something that you've got no experience in. You're putting money where your mouth is. Effectively, you're risking it, and it may not work out, and then you're worse off, right? So I can see where they're coming from. Other families members may be a little bit jealous because you're doing something they may want to do, but they just don't have the balls to do it. Friends as well, some of them can be supportive but also very doubtful of you, right? Some of them can be quite jealous as well, in my opinion, which is why I think me being able from a young childhood moving 5-6 different schools and therefore not having that many friends is actually a good thing. Because when you're starting off a business, you kind of think, oh, what is Sally gonna think about it? Oh, what is Jack gonna say? Oh, I'm a bit worried about where you don't have any friends, you don't give a shit. You just focus on the task at hand, and that's it, right? And then your successes and your results will speak for themselves.
And I think also that's where like the fear of failure comes from. Like, what my friend's gonna say 100%. When this business flops.
Exactly. And you lost the money, and now you're a failure. And how are you gonna be perceived by everybody else? But guess what? When I started off my YouTube channel, when I started off Amazon FBA, less than 5 people knew about it. And it just seems to have worked out. And then eventually, as you grow, people, just like, oh, you're driving Mercedes now. Oh, what happened? And all of a sudden, they changed their perception effectively.
Yeah. They're just overcoming that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like, when you were growing up, what was like the hardest point in your life? Like, because I always feel like the work ethic comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it might be like a particular time or phase in your life where it got really difficult.
Yeah.
And that made you...
I'll be honest, it's actually working a full-time recruitment job. I'll be honest, like working for 7 years from the age of 19 to 26, I absolutely hated waking up at 6 o'clock every single morning, you know, going on the train at 7, going to work for 8, even though the work starts at 8:30, but you're supposed to be there early, right? Working until 6:30 because you're never supposed to leave on time. You're supposed to leave after 6:30. Doing a job that I hate with people that I don't really like and I have nothing in common with, making pennies. You know, I was working in the city and I was like, in the very beginning, I was like on 19 grand, which after tax is like 1.3. You take off the food, you take off the travel and everything. It's just like, what the hell am I doing? And it's just like, and it's, I think a lot of people actually go into these jobs or kind of fall into these jobs effectively, and they just don't see any way out. And it's really demoralizing. Even though I started progressing and I went from 19 to 21 to 25 grand, then to 36 to 45, it didn't really change the fact that, hey, you're making like 200 grand off me and I'm getting paid 30 grand. Like, what the hell? You know, especially for people, let's be honest, like if you leave the job, they'll just replace you like that.
Easy, yeah.
So that was kind of the thought process for me. It's just like, right, this has to end at some point.
And then also you look at like, especially in London, you look at like, what, if I do get this promotion, will my life change that much? Probably not, because can I afford to buy a house? Yeah. Can I afford to rent a flat?
In this day and age right now, like I genuinely don't understand how people live on 30, 40 grand a year.
It's crazy.
Like you have to rent with somebody, you have to live with your parents until you're like age of 35 or whatever, and hope for the best. Hopefully you'll get promotion and stuff. So having that way out is becoming harder and harder, because effectively people with 10% inflation are becoming poorer and poorer, right? So you have to, I don't think enough people put in how urgently you need to figure this out, you know, because it ain't going to fix itself. You're not just going to start making tons of money all of a sudden, because after taxes, after everything, I mean, every single year I look, the train tickets are more expensive. Underground is more expensive. You know, taxes higher, ground rent higher, council tax higher, yet my salary is the same. Like, what the hell?
It's mad, And I feel like that's probably where the younger generation are a lot more entrepreneurial. So we have to do things
which
like...
Which is a good thing.
Have to do things like Amazon, do the extra just to achieve what our parents did.
100%. So. And the thing is just like, for anybody who's interested in starting up a business, don't be scared. Like, this is very, very cliche, but don't be scared of failure. Most of the time you think of the absolute fucking worst, and 9 times out of 10 that doesn't ever happen, right? When I started Amazon FBA business, like, okay, I would have lost 1.2 grand, which is what I invested, but at least I have tried, right? I've tried and failed, as opposed to work for 95 for another 30 years and think, oh, what if? What if I tried? You know? So I'd rather try these things and fail, and I've tried many, and fail at them than not try anything at all.
And I think that's where the mindset comes in, because I've seen like a lot of successful people, they will see the things that can go well. They're aware of the bad things, but they'll look at the positives.
And that's scary, because it's like, oh shit, what if I can actually leave my 9 to 5 and do this full time? And then what would I do? But I think so I'm in a fortunate position now, then, because I mentor students. I actually have had the opportunity to speak to people from all walks of life, right? And the biggest, when it comes to mindset, the biggest shift for them is going from a 9 to 5. Because what happens when you go on to 9 to 5? You go into the very first day, whatever job it is, they will sit you down, they will train you up, they will give you an induction, they will say, hey, you have to do X, Y, and Z, right? Well, now you have to move from that mindset all of a sudden to, you wake up in the morning and you have no one telling you what to do. You have nobody telling you or pushing you forward or anything like that. And it's up to you to motivate yourself to actually get started. And when people say, hey, like, I don't know where to start, I always say, okay, first things first, airplane mode on your phone is going to be your best friend. Put that and or take it out of the room, okay? Tell everything, your friends, your family, don't talk to me for a day or two, and just research. You know, you started this podcast. Nobody told you how to start. You research. You figured it out. You figured out what you need, what kind of equipment you need, what kind of possibilities, opportunities are there. Nobody was on your ass saying, hey, you need to do this, because that's what you have at work. But here, it's not the same.
And what I've seen is a lot of people, they kind of want to get rich quick. And I always say, like, you can waste your whole life trying to get rich quick. There's always going to be a process. There's always work.
100%. Get rich quick. Usually what ends up is you falling for some sort of a scam for something, and then you just lose money, because guess what? You're so susceptible to people telling you, hey, you're going to make millions next month. And so I think personally, I like this quote a lot. People overestimate what they can do in the short term, but really underestimate what they can do in the long term. Like, it's crazy for me to think now that literally 3 years ago, I was on a salary of 2.5 grand. before tax. And now we're doing 7 figures.
Mad.
In 3 years.
Yeah.
In 3 years.
Yeah.
If somebody told me that 3 years ago, I'd be like, what kind of crack are you smoking? It
Damn.
must be good stuff. But,
Yeah.
you know, but it's possible. It's
Yeah.
possible. Clearly, I've done it. My friends have done it. And it is possible. But I think a lot of people are just like, oh, well, 3 years. Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
And I think, because I actually found you through TikTok doing the myth, I call it the Mythbuster content.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Basically, like calling out these kind of fake gurus.
Yeah.
It was quite funny. You
Yeah.
should check it out.
Yeah. So I think with a lot of people, and this is, I wanted to, on this podcast, say something that is not cliche, that is not being said by pretty much everyone else. And the one thing that I would say to every single person watching these sort of videos and stuff, have the ability to have critical thinking, right? You do not be easy to influence. And what I mean by that is a lot of people who are just like, they watch somebody, it resonates with them, and they will accept everything that they say, like it's the Bible. And that's not the case. You know, you need to become harder to influence. I'll give you an example for this. Who's the biggest influencer right now? Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Right? Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
I personally agree with a lot of what he says. But a lot of people are like, you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
There is nothing in between. I like the fact that he speaks about discipline. I like the fact that he speaks about, you know, accountability, being responsible for your life and your future and so on and so forth. However, I'll be honest, I don't care what gender my pilot is. As long as he takes me to the airport or she takes me to the airport, like that's all that matters to me. He says that women can't drive. Well, I've been driving for 10 years and I've had 3 crashes, right? And 3 of the other people have been male. So in my experience, female would be better drivers.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't have to go one way or the other. You can see, you know, certain aspects of a certain person that you like, but then your experience may say otherwise. Whereas for a lot of people, it's just like, even Elon Musk is a great example, right? Everybody loves Elon Musk because he's such a hard worker. He works 80 hours a week and so on and so forth. He does Tesla, Twitter, SpaceX, all these companies and stuff. And then I'm thinking, well, where'd you find the time for all these podcasts? If you're working 80 hours a week, what are you doing in World Cup? Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have to, like, you need to start thinking critically and actually thinking, okay, this is what I'm supposed to think, but this doesn't really add up. This is what I believe and I agree with. This is what my experience tells me otherwise. And I think this is where those sorts of side hustles videos come around, is that sometimes what people will say, I genuinely feel like that's really, really good advice. And sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And it's being able to kind of see what is the bullshit and what is the good.
Exactly. And then kind of my experience effectively helps me very quickly determine is that, hey, what he's saying here is talking full of shit and he's just doing it for the views. Other people potentially may be giving advice, but maybe giving advice to somebody that's not at the startup. Like you have advice of, hey, you need to invest in index funds. I was like, well, guess what? If your net worth is 2-3 grand, you ain't going to be a millionaire from index funds, right? If you have 100 grand net worth, it's a good idea, right? But in the very beginning, unless you want to be a millionaire when you're 50, 60, 70.
But also, because you've been there and done it, you know what is bullshit and what isn't.
Yeah.
But for someone that's starting out, they're not going to know that, hold on, I can't make 10 grand in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They're not going to know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, all of us want to be rich and as quickly as possible. And I think in the very beginning is these fake gurus, these scammers effectively, and I don't care, I'll call them scammers. They used to use screenshots. It was like, oh, look at my bank account, 100 grand, 500 grand, whatever. People kind of caught on the fact that, hey, you can Photoshop these. Then
I
what
only
happened?
found that out like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you're late to the game. You're late to the game. You can screenshot and manipulate anything. And then afterwards, then all of a sudden you start selling this laptop lifestyle and Lamborghini and rented jet or whatever, right, to sell your courses. Now it's the third phase where it's super easy. It's lazy side hustles. Oh, you can just be at home in bed, you know, and not do much and just set your money on autopilot and money will start falling from the sky. Guess what, dummy? It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to put some work in, because if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, of course. And I feel like people need to know that obviously the work is needed at the beginning, and
100%.
to find the right person to follow as well, like a person that's credible.
Yeah.
That's not going to just feed you bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes getting that sort of information is much harder than you think, because not feeding you bullshit, telling you the real truth is not as sexy. Telling people, hey, you may not get paid for 2 years doing this Amazon FBA stuff, right? I first get paid 2.5 years in.
Yeah.
That doesn't sell much, you know? Whereas if I said, hey, I'll get you a first product and my course will help you to get on the first page and you'll be selling, look, this guy is selling 50,000, therefore you will. it's much more clickbaity. It's much more
Yeah,
salesy.
yeah.
It feeds the mind of, hey, I can escape this in 3 months' time.
Yeah, exactly. So then going back to your story now, so you were at a recruitment job,
Yeah.
making decent money or average salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the process of you leaving? Like, what happened? What was the story?
Very, very simple. Because I always had the dream. When I started Amazon FBA, it was kind of like doing this half time and doing this half time effectively. And I had the dream of, guess what? One day I'm going to hand in my notice and my boss is going to say, oh, what firm are you going into? And I'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm doing this shit by myself now. That's it. I'm not going. I'm doing my own stuff. But what happened was very, very different. Was the fact that, hey, COVID hit and I got a Zoom call. And they said, yeah, we're cutting staff and you're going to be let go. We'll pick up your laptop tomorrow. And that was it. That was my dream pretty much gone of doing this speech and everything. And I was just like, shit, okay, so now I don't have a job. What do I do? Do I look for another job?
Would you have still been working there if that didn't happen?
That's a really good question. I think I would have been working for another half a year because, to be honest, it was so scary for me to go from a steady paycheck to all of a sudden, shit, nobody's going to pay me on a monthly basis now. It really depends on me. And it was really, really scary. But COVID kind of pushed me, well, not pushed me, but I was kind of forced out effectively. And then what happened was I did a few interviews and stuff and actually got offers and stuff. And then I kind of thought to myself, okay, if I spend the amount of time on a full-time job, I spent all of that time on Amazon, will I be paid more? And the results spoke for themselves. Yes. And that was just like, okay, cool. That's it now. I am now going to be doing this full time. And then, you know what, see how it goes. I still had a bit of savings. Money was coming in. It's just like, what's the worst that can happen? I'll find another job in 6 months' time. Yeah. But it was scary.
And where were you? Were you at home or where were you living at the time?
Yeah, so what happened is that when 25 years old, because I've been a notorious saver since I was 16 years old, I actually managed to get on the property ladder at the age of 24, 25.
Wow, that's good.
And that was a little bit scary as well. And it kind of pushed me even further to start Amazon FBA because all of a sudden the bills go from £200 a month, you know, gym, haircut, mobile phone, to all of a sudden a mortgage, council tax, ground rent, all of these bills and everything, electricity, gas, and those sort of things. And all is just
especially at 24 as well. That's a lot of money to commit.
Exactly. So that was just like, right, not only I don't like what I'm doing, now I don't even have that much disposable income anymore. It's just like, I need to find a way out. It's just like, and I think the best person, effectively, in my personal experience, and I've worked with a lot of people now, the best people that will make it, in my opinion, need to have two qualities. The first one is lack of distraction from friends and family, and most importantly, friends. Anyone that has thousands or hundreds of friends that they go out on a weekly basis or whatever, that is a big distraction. It's actually a hindrance in your progress, in my opinion.
Cut off all your friends and family?
In a way, yeah, because guess what? Business is not easy and sacrifices will have to be made. Yeah. Right? It's just that simple. Like, I'm sorry, this is not sexy to say, but sacrifices will have to be made.
And that's easier said than done as well. Like.
100%. For me personally, it was dead easy because guess what? I was by myself, didn't have many friends. So when I actually started a business, not having friends was normal. Right. And I didn't care about their opinion or anything like that. And when you start off a business, if you go from having loads of friends to all of a sudden starting a business, guess what? Every business, you're going to be quite lonely because nobody's going to start clapping for you. Nobody's going to cheer you on. Nobody's going to tell you you're doing a great job. You're by yourself. Yeah. And good luck with that. Yeah. Right. And this is why I always say your biggest supporter is going to be a complete stranger, whilst your biggest hater is going to be somebody you know.
It's so true, man.
And that's the big thing. So the first one is friends and family. If you can push them away a little bit, as bad as it sounds, that's a big thing. And then the second thing is, how uncomfortable are you? Yeah. The reality is that if you're comfortable in your 9 to 5 and you're okay and you're getting by and you enjoy it quite well and it's not too bad, you know, the benefits are not great, but the steady salary, you're not going to want it bad enough. Yeah. And it's so sad for me to see so many people, and quite a few like good friends of mine actually, doing the same thing for years and years and years. Yeah, and they're like, I'd like to try it, but this festival is happening. Yeah. I need to get Christmas presents. And it's just like,
I was going to add as well, like, I feel like, especially in your 20s, it's kind of like those are your best. People 100%. Think that's your best years. So it's like, okay, I'm sacrificing going out to this festival, going to Ibiza to focus on this business. Yeah. And that is the balance.
But guess what? What's better, having a festival when you have $2,000 to your name, or going to a festival when you're 32, 35 and you have 2 million to your name? Yeah. you're going to enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to enjoy the finer things in life effectively. And it's kind of like some people are okay with making those sacrifices. Most, unfortunately, are not.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
just like, oh, you know what? I don't have any money. Oh, I'll put it on a credit card. And I'll pay interest on that credit card. And then it's just like, right, well.
It's
tough.
really hard to go against the grain, though, because, like, I feel like we're wired to be lazy.
Yep.
We're wired for comfort. That's just how we are.
Yeah.
So it's like you're literally forcing yourself to do stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Is the fact is that these sort of videos, this is why they do so well, is because in the very 2-3 seconds on TikTok, this is an easy side hustle, easy, lazy side hustle. And it's like, oh, well, I'm lazy and I want to make a bit of money, so I need to watch this. If you're lazy, you will not make it. It's just as simple as that. So the very first thing I think, before you even start any sort of business, you need to focus on doing shit you don't like to do. You know, doing
100%.
things that you don't really enjoy doing sometimes, but because they just have to be done.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. And it's just like, if I'm ill, if I'm not well, if I'm not feeling it, if I have to do a YouTube video, I'll do the YouTube video. It just has to be done.
Yeah.
I'll speak to my students. I'll do a podcast or whatever. It doesn't matter how I feel. It needs to get done. Because guess what? The market doesn't care how you feel. And your students don't care how you feel. It's just, do I get value out of this or not?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. For me, I liken it to the gym as well. I think the gym is literally like life. Like,
very much so.
It's only you that can lift those weights. You're not going to
100%.
grow until you've exceeded
100%.
your potential.
100%. Yeah. And I think, again, this is where discipline comes in, because a lot of people, and me included, I don't really like going to the gym because I know it benefits me and it helps me mentally and stuff. But that being said, gym is, in one way, or just staying in fitness, you have a regime, you go in there, yes, you have to pick up some heavy stuff, but you know exactly what you're going to do each and every single day. Business is not like that. And business will throw different challenges at you all the time, whether it's staff, whether it's lack of funds, whether it's the products are not selling well. And you're just like always in this firefighter mode where it's just like, what the hell do I do here? What the hell do I do there?
Yeah.
Whereas in fitness, it's just like, right, I need to eat certain foods, I need to train certain way, and it's pretty much laid out for me. Now it's just a process of doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas here is a bit more to it.
Dynamic. Yeah, of course. So what did it feel like when you made that jump? Like when you decided?
Scary. You know what? It's very scary, because you go from, a steady paycheck, you go from waking up at a certain time to all of a sudden having nobody on your ass, nobody telling you, hey, you need to leave at 5 or 6 o'clock, right? And I'll be honest, the first few months I was horrible. And the reason why I say that is because instead of waking up at 8:30 or 8 o'clock, well, guess what? I can now wake up at 10 and nobody's going to tell me off.
Yeah.
I can wake up at 11 and nobody's going to tell me off, right? But then all of a sudden you start realizing that you start work at 11, you finish work at 3, right? And then that's how it's going to go. You know, you got this lifestyle effectively. But the reality is, if you change what got you to that point, all of a sudden now taking the foot off the pedal effectively, it's only a matter of time until you start going to the job again.
Yeah.
So I was just like, right, I need to set up a good regime again to wake up, no matter how hard it is. I'll have to wake up at 8 o'clock, right? I have to, no matter what, finish at 5. And if there's nothing to do, find something to do that will benefit my business, right? And that took a little while. And for most people, that will be a sort of, you're dreaming of, hey, I'm working for myself, but that means you're still working a lot.
Yeah.
Usually, most of the time, more than you did at your job. But at least you're doing it for yourself now.
Exactly. So they say, like, you show up for your job, you need to show up for yourself.
Oh,
as well.
100%.
You know?
100%. 100%. I actually, the thing is, very, very recently, I've had a student. So a lot of my students are either young people who are just starting out, got a couple of grand to themselves. But there are also other people who have their own businesses and they want to diversify. So I have this guy that's got right now 5 properties. He's in his 40s. And he basically just wants to diversify because recession is coming in and he doesn't want to depend just on the property market. I was like, cool, not a problem. And whenever I had a call with him, and he's now doing really, really well. Whenever I had a call with him, he always was just like the attitude of, is that it? Is that it? Okay, cool. That's easy to do. Anything more? Anything else? Right? And I was just like, everyone's telling me how hard this is and how hard and how much work it is. And you just don't have this, like, you have this very easy type of attitude. Is that it? And he was just like, I'll be honest with you. This sounds like a lot, right? But I need to have the attitude of how easy it is because the most important conversation I'm ever going to have with anyone is myself, right? And by telling myself, hey, 12 hours, Give me 16. You know, one product. Oh, that's fine, not a problem. I'll get it done by next week. And you just literally look at his progress. It's just one product's done well, second product didn't do so well, but he's like, who gives a shit? Third product, fourth product. It's just like, whoa, that I'm learning from you all of a sudden because you go from this mindset of victim mentality, oh, how hard it is, oh, how I need to be self-disciplined, to all of a sudden it's just like, no, you know what, I'm a beast and I can do this shit. You know, and that's really important too.
It's basically being comfortable, being uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Used to pushing yourself.
100%. But it's just, that sort of thought process was just like, I used to feel sorry for myself. Oh, I got Amazon, I got stocks and shares, I got property, I got YouTube, I got TikTok. And I'm like, now after speaking to him, I'm just like, I can fucking do all of this. Yeah, bring it on, man. Bring it on. Like, let's get more in. Come on, let's do more. Let's see how much I can do, because I can do a whole lot. And that sort of attitude was just like such eye opener for me. And a lot of people, I think, if they fail once, they fail twice, all of a sudden their confidence goes down. Oh, maybe it's not right for me or whatever. You need to pick yourself up, man. Nobody's going to pick it up for you.
100%, man. Definitely. So when you launched the business, what was the first product and how were sales?
Yeah. Let's get into the details.
Let's get into that.
So the first product was a tanning mitt. Not a yoga mat, not a pest repellent. It was a simple tanning mitt, right?
What's a tanning mitt?
So a tanning mitt, for those people that don't know, females will probably know exactly what it is. It's a glove, right? You put on a tanning lotion and you tan yourself with it. You put that sort of stuff. Took me 6 weeks to find, right? But the whole point for me was basically to try and stand out from the rest of the competition. What am I going to do different to thousands of products out there? And what happened was I was looking on Amazon, all of these gloves, different colors, different shapes, or whatever. And then I looked at Alibaba and it's just like, there was one glove and I was just like, what the hell is this? It was a glove that was attached to another glove. Right? So it was two gloves. I was like, what's this? And then I kind of looked more into it, and the selling point was the fact that you don't need your friend or family or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, to tan your back. You can actually put it on and you can tan yourself with it. But it sounds stupid, but that was the unique selling point, and that was what stood me out from the rest of the competition. And that's it, right? And I bought 600 units, brought them in for £2.21 each, which was like about 1.3 grand, 1.2 grand. And I remember 3 boxes showed up at my parents' house, and my mum pulled me up.
Was this all your money then that you just chucked in?
All my money, yeah. And my mum, and it was very risky, and it was very scary, because I'm paying somebody who I've never spoken to in real life, halfway across the world. Who knows what he's going to do with that money? You hear all these stories about scammers just taking your money and run away with it. But then eventually the product showed up at my mum's doorstep, and she pulls me aside and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing now? Like, how are you going to get rid of whatever this is? Right? And I was just like, just try, just shh. Let me just do it what I want to do. And you know what? If I fail, I failed. Okay, at least I tried. And we just created a good listing, selling the fact that hey, you can do it all by yourself. You don't need any help or whatever. Listed it off. I got the first couple of reviews from friends and family, and it was interesting. And all of a sudden, I see a sale. I'm just like, who's that? My family bought it already. My friends have bought it already. Who's another sale? Who's that?
The first.
And it's just like mind blown. It's just like, oh shit, I actually bought a product, waited for 2-3 weeks for that to come in, made a listing, created the title, the key features, put all this work in, and now I'm selling it to complete strangers. This actually works, and I'm making money. And so I bought it for £2.21, sold it for £9.99, and after fees, I was getting back £5.83. So
that's good.
£2.21, £5.83. Right? And we sold 3,000 of them by the end. It was over about a year and a half and stuff. But that one product was making roughly around £700-800
I remember when, because I tried Amazon FBA for a bit. We talked about it before. So my first product was yoga mats, because obviously it's a terrible product because it's so like saturated. But obviously I shipped it in for 6 weeks, got it on, got my first reviews from friends and stuff. That first order from a random stranger was the best feeling ever.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, when the vision comes to life, you're like, hold on, someone's actually paid for something I've bought. Like, it's actually crazy.
Yeah. And it's just like, and it's a very big difference between watching somebody on YouTube making hundreds of thousands of millions or whatever, to all of a sudden seeing in your own profile, your own bank account, and be like, this actually works,
Yeah,
you know. But that's not to say that every product is going to work. Some of them we're going to do extremely well, some of them are not, right? But it's just the trying and learning from your lessons. And then my first product did well, my second product terrible. But that didn't discourage me. I'm just like, all right, let's see what third one brings, fourth one.
So when you first started making, so how much did you make the first month, say?
First month was £2,500, something like that.
And then what did you do with that money? Did you
Everything was
spend
reinvested for 2.5 years. I did not. It was literally. It felt like Monopoly money. I swear to God, it was literally just money in, money out, money in, money out. Nothing in my lifestyle changed. I was driving the same VW Polo for 2.5 years,
You
making.
buy any Gucci belts?
No, nothing. Even now, like to me, those sort of fancy things and everything is just stress. Especially right now in London, you go into Central, whatever, you hear about these stabbings and these sort of things. Why on earth would I have myself a Rolex?
It's a lot, man.
It's just not worth it. But yeah.
That's sick. And then, so when did you start making like proper money? So the first few months you're making 2.5K.
Yeah.
When were you making enough to support yourself fully?
I don't know, because for everybody, supporting themselves is different, right? But what I can say is so I started in June of 2018. The first 6 months we made 25 grand in sales, right? 25 grand in sales for the first 6 months. In my opinion, it's not that much. Profit was about 8 grand, right?
It's probably more than your job, right?
It wasn't more than my job, but it was just the start effectively and a proof of concept is what I say. But I was reinvesting everything back into business. Next full first year was 221,000. Then we went from 221. This is where COVID hit. And we were like, oh, what's going to happen now?
Scary times, yeah.
But what happened was that everybody was stuck at home, and therefore we moved from 221 to 770.
In 1 year?
In 1 year. Then last year we went from 770 to 880 because people were still under COVID, but we're kind of leaving a little bit now, going outside. So not as many people were buying products online as they did the year before. But I just remember sales going from £600-700 a day to all of a sudden 2 grand, and it's just like, how the hell am I going to stay in stock? To the suppliers, to the point where it's just like, just bring them over to me as quickly as possible. I don't care what I'm paying. Just I want the products. So 25 grand. 221, 770, 880 last year, and this year we're going to close off about 1.08 million, something like that.
That growth is crazy.
So all in all, about 3 million. Ish. Yeah.
Because I remember there was a time during COVID when demand was crazy high, but no one could get any product.
Yeah.
And it was like a massive stress.
It was tough, absolutely, because all of a sudden you have these supply chain issues, and you have the I can't remember what the name was of the ship that clogged up everything for about a week or so, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, just bring over my tanning mitts. And all these things were happening and stuff, and it's just like people were just buying because they were getting paid furlough, right? They didn't do anything at home besides watch Netflix, and they were shopping. And they were shopping.
So was I, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. And I think COVID was actually a benefit for us Amazon sellers, because it gave people an idea of how amazing Amazon is that, hey, I don't have to leave my bedroom. I can order something and it'll come up to my doorstep the next day. Why do I need to queue up? Why do I need to go to 3 different shops and compare prices and stuff when I'm going to just order something right now? But that being said, now because of the economy and everything, because mortgage rates are going up and interest rates are going up, we are seeing slightly less in sales. Like, for example, last year Christmas we made 133 grand in sales. This year, with more products, we're on about 120.
Okay.
So there's more products, but clearly people are being pinched a little bit. But in my opinion, if people are going to use that as an excuse not to start, that's a terrible excuse. Because I've spoken to students, they were like, oh, you know what, I'm going to wait until COVID is past to start Amazon. I'm like, okay, well, meanwhile, I'm still selling. Then it came to, war in Ukraine. I'm going to wait until that's over, and then I'm going to start selling. All right, meanwhile, I'm still selling. Now, recession. Oh, okay, I'm still selling. So if you're looking for excuses not to start, there'll be one.
I think it's Warren Buffett that said, when people are fearful, be greedy. When people are greedy, be fearful.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's making a move and people are scared.
Well, most of the companies that we know and enjoy and like and appreciate today have been started up in recessions. So recession usually is, if you have the cash, is one of the best times to start off.
Yeah, it's a good time. So just moving on now. So you said you were making quite a bit of money sort of second year.
Yeah.
How did you stop yourself from splashing that money on Range Rovers and
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. That's a very, very good question that I don't really have the answer to, because I've
Okay.
never really been a flashy guy myself.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, I have this 10 grand in my business bank account now. I can go on a holiday,
Yeah.
or I can reinvest into more money.
Yeah.
And when I have found something that I can reinvest and make more, as opposed to having a brand new car, it was just like, I might as well just do that instead.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think some people have the problem of not having money, and then some people have the problem of having the money but don't know where to put it. Whereas I now had the money and I knew where to put it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of buying myself Rolexes and trying to impress people, I just thought, fuck that. I'm just going to go back into the business. And again, not having friends helped, because who am I going to impress?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think when you're younger, you have like a vision of what I'm gonna be like when I'm successful.
Yes.
And in your head, it's gonna be the car and
Yeah.
the watch and stuff.
Yep.
But when you get there, you're like, actually, this isn't as important as I thought.
Of course not.
Like,
Of course not.
what really makes me happy?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
a lot of these things actually just bring stress in your life, in my opinion. I think eventually, when I moved for a car, we went from a Fiesta to a Mercedes C300.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, that is an upgrade. You're going
Yeah.
from a 7 grand car to a 30 grand car. And it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but the reality is I was happy for about 2 weeks. But then after that, insurance, 2.5 grand, petrol, £250 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, all of these costs and everything, upkeep and everything. And it's just, the reality bites you. It's just like, yeah, it's nice. Did I get much appreciation? No.
Yeah.
Am I happy with it a month from now? Not as much. I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you kind of realize is that, hey, you need to think about what really is going to make you happy. And the happiest thing, even to this day right now, is the fact that, hey, I can say to myself, I don't have a boss.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have somebody to tell me, hey, you need to be here at a certain time. You need to
Yeah.
do this and X, Y, and Z. That to me is far more important than McLaren.
Yeah, 100%.
You know.
So what, just adding on to that, what would you say really, what drives you?
What drives me?
would you
I
say
don't.
your
I don't
family?
really have external drivers. It's
Okay.
just this. This may sound arrogant, but shit is just what I do. This is
Yeah.
just what I do. This is just my living. This is the life that I built for myself. And in
Yeah,
order for me to upkeep that life, in order for me to continue progressing, this is just what I do. I don't look for external motivations or anything like that. Like, if
Yeah.
anything, if I had a goal, would be to help people around me.
Yeah.
Is basically because my parents have, worked really hard helping them out. So, getting my parents involved now in my business and so on, and not having them to rely on another boss and stuff, is really nice to know. Is that thinking that, hey, if their health deteriorates or something like that, I have the
Yeah.
means to help out. Like, having that money set aside for these sort of things really brings me happiness.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like, I bought an Xbox, played it for a week, and then I realized that, hey, this is actually reducing my productivity.
Yeah.
Probably not going to do it so much. So, these sort of things, sometimes you feel like they're going to make you happy, but it's really a short-term thing.
I did the same with my PS5 actually. Only played it 3 times. But
Yeah.
so my motivation comes from probably my parents, similar to you,
Okay.
where my mum was a cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
and she worked really hard to kind of get me through school.
Mm-hmm.
My dad sold a lot of his houses to get me through private school as well.
Yeah.
So they just put everything they had into me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to pay them back. I want
Yeah.
to look after them. Now they're
Yeah.
getting a bit older. I don't want them to have to work hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, my drive is a bit like you, with like people around me, I want to really help them.
Yeah.
Way more than buy myself a Ferrari or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Because at the end of the day, like, those are the sort of things that will make your parents proud of you. And in my parents' case, my parents have to tell everybody how well I'm doing now, and I'm just like, just shut up.
yeah.
They don't need to know. It doesn't matter, but it is what it is. But at least you have the idea that, hey, they're proud of you. They're happy with what you're doing, even though I am proving them wrong on so many levels. That their opinion was university, or you're dead to me. You're broke,
really?
right? It was like, I have to go to university. And now thinking back, that was the biggest waste of money I've ever spent. Like, it was 19 grand sitting over my head even today, because I still haven't paid off the debt,
Same.
right? But it made my parents happy,
Yeah.
and then I worked at a job to make my parents happy. And I think a lot of people watching this video will relate, because sometimes what I see from people is that they go into a job, they go into a profession that they may not even want to do. It's just to appease their parents. And I see this especially in Eastern European cultures and Asian cultures, where the parents' pressure is so hard on you to do what they want for you, as opposed to you actually breaking away and be like, listen, we're not in 1980s anymore. This is how the world works. Very, very different. And what matters to you? The fact that I'm a doctor, or the fact that I'm making 200, 300, 400 grand a year?
Yeah. But I guess for them, being a millionaire is the same as you being a doctor or you being a lawyer. Like for them, that is the end goal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly. My parents now don't care what I do, as long as it brings in money, as long as I'm happy with what I'm doing, and as long as I don't have somebody else telling me what to do.
Yeah. So I was going to say, so your biggest struggle was the shipping issues, right?
Yeah.
What was your biggest success now, like when you thought, bam, I've made it?
Well, biggest struggle, it wasn't just shipping, to be honest. I actually got overconfident with a few products, and I thought, oh, you know what, instead of shipping these sort of £2-3 products, right, and making 100% return on investment, what if I buy 15, 18 pound products and sell them for 50, 60 quid? And things change a little bit when you go up in terms of product prices. I bought these, I remember, these small spy cameras. Well, for 18 quid, I was planning to sell them for 45 or something like that. And they were shit. They were absolutely terrible. They did not work at all. My reviews went down from 5 stars in the very beginning to 2.5 stars. It's like, what the hell do I do now? All right, well, pull them all back. Try get rid of them on like a car boot sale for parts or something like that, right? So there has been quite a few struggles and losses along the way. It's not been a smooth journey by any stretch, but that's just part of the game. The biggest win, again, is just working for myself. It's just working for myself. I think that matters to me far more than anything else. But if I say from a product perspective, and I can't disclose this particular product, but last year we bought a product for £1.20 all in. And after fees, we get back £14.44
profit.
And we sold about 2,000 units of that over like a 2-3 month period.
Mad.
During Christmas and stuff like that. So that, I very rarely use this term, but that was like printing money. Because it was like you're selling crazy amounts at a massive margin. And it's just like, oh, so this is possible with private label. Not so much with retail arbitrage or wholesale, but this is actually possible. It's like, okay, so that's kind of. I was going to
say actually, because there's loads of different models on Amazon, right? So if people haven't got enough money to start, what would you say is the best thing for them to do? Like, say they've got a few £100s.
Yeah. So if you have a few £100s, there's a few things you can do. First of all, like, the goal is, I see money as a game, right? The things that you do to get to £1,000 is different to get to £10,000, different to get to £100,000, and so on and so forth, right? In the very beginning, sometimes, and this is again another unsexy answer, but just having another part-time job may be a decent idea, just so you can work for a month or 2 months, and here you go, you have an extra £1.50, right? If you don't want to do that, because you may be like my brother, who's just categorically at 19 years old right now, he's seen what I've done, he's just like, I will never have a boss in my life. I'm gonna do whatever I can to make my own money, and he's doing all right for himself. But you can start off with something as simple as retail arbitrage.
But just to jump in there, my brother's the same. But in my head, I was like, you know what? It might be good to work for somebody for a bit.
Couldn't agree more.
Just to learn how it works.
Not to learn more, but just to realize how shit it is. How shit it is. How working on a Saturday night when your friends are out partying, how shit it is, and how you don't get appreciated for it. And how, you should be grateful for earning £7 an hour. I think that drive means a lot.
Sorry, also you can see like how an organization runs as well.
Absolutely.
If you do it for 1 or 2 years.
100%. 100%.
Apply to your business.
Absolutely. And this is why I think if you're going to go down the route of actually getting a job, which in my personal opinion, everybody should, just to get an experience, you should really look at relatively small businesses, because then you'll get the exposure of what it's really like. If you get to speak to the business owner, what's he like? How does he deal with the finances? How does he deal with the stress? I always tell to young people watching my videos, one of the best things you can do, you can either start working for a small business to learn a lot and experience. This may not be something you grow into for 10 years time, but learn. And secondly, sometimes if like people say, oh, I'm out of university, but I don't have any experience. Well, guess what? Work for free. For 2-3 months, you're working, you're living at home, your expenses are nothing, work for free, get the experience, figure out what you actually like, and then guess what? If you add enough value to that person, he will pay you. He will pay you. I have employees now who started off for free, and then I realized, bloody hell, I depend a lot on them, I'm not letting you go. And all of a sudden they have a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I think getting a job is actually quite important in the beginning, especially for the younger people. But going back to what to do when you're starting off low and you don't want to have a job, retail arbitrage or online arbitrage would be a good shout. When you buy something cheaper and you sell it more expensive on Amazon, eBay, Facebook Marketplace or whatever. My brother started off last year. He was just like, right, I'm going to do retail arbitrage. And because it was just like, I kept on pushing him to get a job, but he was just pushing against me. He got into a few Facebook groups on retail arbitrage as to what sells, what doesn't. And we realized that during Christmas, because of the chip shortage, there was a lot of people that couldn't get PS5s, couldn't get Xbox 360s or whatever. So it's like, right, okay, how can we get them and sell them? Because clearly demand is there. And obviously straight away I started giving him advice and stuff, and I was just like, go to Smith stores, go to Arguses, right, where they eventually get them, but they sell out very, very quickly, and be like, listen, to make friends and actually speak to them. Hey, whenever these things come in, call me. I'll give you 50 quid for each one. Let me buy as much as I can. This is what he did, and I helped him out, and we ended up selling 25 Xboxes and PlayStation 5s. We bought them for $450. We were selling them at $600. And it's just a little bit of common sense, a little bit of hard work, waking up 7 o'clock in the morning, waiting in the queue so you can pick up 4 Xboxes. Did it.
I really like the retail arbitrage model, especially for starting out, like going from nothing to a few grand. Like, it's something anyone can do.
And it gives you a little bit of an idea of what running a business is like. There's still a lot more to learn, but this is where you literally go back to the core of buying cheap, selling it more expensive. A lot of people, I think, need that experience that, hey, this actually works and stuff. And you can go retail arbitrage with Xboxes, PlayStations, or whatever else is hard to get. Go for that. Sneaker reselling, trainers and stuff. My brother did that as well. He made a little bit of money there. Any of these things, if you're just clever about it and actually do a little bit of digging and research into it, you can make a decent amount of money. Now, is this going to be a full-time business? No, but you can start for sure. And there's people on my Facebook group as well who have shared their results, and it's just like, oh, I made $2,000 this month. Oh, I made $2,500 this month, and so on. And it's just like, it is possible. Maybe not as scalable as private label would be, because you have to put in the legwork, but it's still a good way to start.
How much could you make from retail arbitrage? Say you did like 20 hours a week.
It's hard. It's really hard to say. I think you can make yourself a full-time decent salary. I don't think, unless you start employing people or you have some sort of an edge, then it's really hard to scale it past that effectively. But with all of these business models, like for example, the retail, online arbitrage, wholesale, right? In my opinion, you need to have some sort of an edge. Either you have on Facebook groups and you're on the ball with whatever right now is hot and is hard to get, and you figured out a way to get it. With wholesale as well. And this is another business model that a lot of people speak about with Amazon FBA. My opinion of wholesale is it's scalable. You can make a lot of money on it. But if I can get the same products at the same price that you can by searching online, then this is not going to work out because the competition is just too high. But if I can, have an exclusivity deal with a warehouse and be like, listen, I'll take all your products, don't give them to anyone else, and I'll give you a commission or whatever. Now you have an edge over other people. So you always, whenever any sort of business model that you want to get into, it's just like, okay, how can I step ahead? How can I just be a little bit better than the thousands of people that are doing this as well?
That's a really good point, actually, because even with like FBA, people are like, oh, this is really saturated.
Oh,
but if you can do something different to what's there, and you can fix the current issues, then you can win.
Well, the whole point with Amazon FBA, the private label side of things, is the key to making it a success is differentiating, standing out from the rest of the competition. And the reality is that new products, which is one way of differentiating yourself, come out all the time. Amazon will only ever be saturated when the whole world decides to, all right, that's it, we're not going to innovate anymore, right? And people think, okay, well, but what about this niche, because it has so many reviews, right? How on earth am I going to compete? And I give the example of Apple iPhones. Let's say we've been selling Apple iPhones 12, whatever, for half a year, and it's got thousands of reviews. Well, what happens when the iPhone 13 comes out? In the very beginning, it's got 0 reviews. It's got 0 customer ratings or whatever. But because it's a new, upgraded product that people are interested in, very, very quickly, it will overtake the older model. Exactly the same logic can be applied to pretty much every niche out there. even the fucking yoga mats. If you can come across a yoga mat that is thicker, better, different shape, size, stands out from everybody else, you'll make money.
So that was my problem. So I was selling yoga mats. And it was selling out, actually. I think I got like bestseller for a few weeks.
There you go.
Wasn't making any profit because I didn't have enough money. And also I didn't differentiate my product.
Yeah.
So that's where I went wrong. If I made something a bit different, I could have probably continued that.
100%.
So,
100%. And that's the thing. Some people actually, this is where the mentorship kind of comes in as well, because some people have 1,500, 2,000 pounds to start. And they're like, okay, I'm going to go for this product that's 30, 40 quid on Amazon. And the reality is that if it's expensive on Amazon, it's going to be expensive on Alibaba. And if you don't buy enough stock, you will find yourself running out of stock very quickly. When you're out of stock, you drop down in ranking. You wait, because the Chinese take anything between 4 to 12 weeks for the product to come in sometimes. So you need to, your budget usually will dictate what kind of products you're going for.
Cool. So what I wanted to ask you as well is, well, first of all, what is Amazon FBA? Because a lot of people don't actually know what it is.
So Amazon FBA, in essence, is literally, like I said, using Amazon's fulfillment centers to fulfill all of your orders. So instead of when a sale comes through on a regular website and you have to pick, pack, and send it off to post office, here it's very straightforward. Everything is automated. You list the product, and whenever somebody buys it, they put the staff pick it up, pack it, collect it, and send it off for you. You don't have to lift a finger, which helps you then scale up the business that much quicker, as opposed to you packing every single day. So that in essence is the biggest selling point to Amazon in comparison to eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Shopify, and pretty much all the others.
And also from a customer journey, people don't actually know that it's not Amazon selling all the products. So there's something called the buy box, right?
Yeah.
So if you just explain.
Yeah. So with the buy box, effectively, so what happens is when people buy on Amazon, a lot of them think, this is Amazon selling to me. And the reality is, no, it's not. Sometimes it is, because they do actually sell products on their marketplace. But there is actually a lot of times where it's actually various sellers that will sell on that listing. So you can have Chinese selling their own products. You can have UK marketplace selling their own products and stuff. And sometimes on big important products, or like big, very well in demand products, you will have one listing and you will have 10 sellers on it, all competing for that buy box, effectively, which basically means when you click on buy now, that little box that says buy now, who gets the sale? Right? Now, me as a private label seller, I can kick off anyone that is on my listing. So basically, if somebody jumps on, thinks they can get cheeky and start stealing my sales, I can say, hey, I have a trademark. You have to be kicked off because you, in my opinion, are selling counterfeit items and you don't have my permission. Bye. Right? Whereas if you do wholesale, well, you don't have a trademark, and therefore you are, and this is the biggest downside of wholesale, is the fact that you are competing with a whole bunch of other people to the race to the bottom, effectively. And in the beginning, you may be making a profit, and all of a sudden another seller jumps in, a lower price. You have to undercut them. They undercut you, and then you realize you're just trying to sell out. So you just to make the money back and go on to another product. Whereas with private label, it's much more, it's riskier in the beginning because you have to put a lot more money up front. But once you have a listing sorted, once the images are done, once you have the reviews, once you have the trademark, you don't have to do much. And nobody's going to jump on your listing, or because they can't. They're not allowed.
I really like that's probably the best business I've done, actually, is the yoga mats that I did for 2 or 3 weeks. But literally, once the stock was there, I was sitting, I think I was at another job, actually. I was seeing the orders pinging off. And I was like, flip, real money, real time.
And you find yourself, every new seller will be able to relate to this. You check your app every half an hour to see, has there been another sale? Has there been another sale? That kind of fades away. That excitement kind of fades away after a while, especially when you have loads of products. But in the very beginning, it's just like refresh. Wake up in the morning, the very first thing you do is check the apps. Okay, have I made any sales? Have I made money whilst I sleep? You know, and some people do, you know, but the reality is most people don't really shop online at nighttime, so most of your sales will come in during the evening hours.
Okay, so Amazon FBA is sick. What is what's like the negative bits of it that people should be aware of?
Well, the negatives is there's a few things. So just like with any other business, it's risky. Right, and it's more risky compared to, let's say, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, even wholesale, or shop or drop shipping, whatever, because you have to put quite a bit of money up front. Then it's risky because also you are buying from somebody that you've never spoken to on Alibaba in China, right? So, you know, there's a lot of unknowns in the very beginning. The biggest unknown is the fact that you're going into a business model that you have no experience in whatsoever.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that is a big shock to their system.
100%.
Because there's a lot to learn. I genuinely feel like I learned more about business and just about finance in general from running my Amazon FBA business than university. Real experience. So there's a lot to learn in the very beginning, and it can be quite overwhelming. But the bad and the good, effectively, about Amazon FBA private label is the majority of the work is done up front.
Yeah.
Once the listing is done, once everything is sorted, once you're in stock and you manage your inventory correctly, the only thing you have to care about is making sure your listing is active and restocking.
Yeah.
Which is why I have students that will come in and they really want to grow as quickly as possible, right? And they want to reinvest everything back in the business, whatever. And I have a nurse, I have a policeman who are very happy with their job, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to be a business owner, but they just want to make a little bit of extra income every single month. And that's when having a passive business of Amazon FBA is actually possible, because you don't care about growing it anymore. You just want to make an extra $2,000 a month on profit.
I hate the word passive income because nothing's for free, but it's probably the closest you can get to passive once the stock is there.
Yeah. But the thing is, people think passive means no work. And the reality is there is still a lot of work in the very beginning. You can make it passive if you don't want to grow. For me, Amazon FBA is not passive at all, because now I'm selling 75 products. And I've probably relaunched 100 products by now, and each one of them had to be researched, had to spoke to suppliers, need to negotiate prices, do the listing, the images, and all these sort of things. That is a lot of time and effort.
A lot of work, yeah.
And whenever I see a video of someone say, "Hey, this is a passive side hustle," I'm just like, please don't say Amazon. Don't trigger me on this one. And sometimes they do, and I'm just like, all right, there's my video coming out.
Getting called out,
100%, 100%. Because in the beginning, I used to think, oh, you know what, let me do you, whatever. But then all of a sudden, I started getting emails from people who's just like, hey, I had this bad experience because I paid for £1,000, £1,500, and they just gave me a few videos and didn't help me or whatever. Other people were just like missold information, and I'm just like, you know what, these people can't do much, because they don't have much of a voice, they don't have much of a following, and they're not going to start suing people. At least if I can call out a few of these people, give my opinion, and I don't want to say, damage their business, but basically get people to just think a little bit harder before making that purchase, that's a job well done for me. If you watched my videos and you still believe in side hustles, easy, passive, lazy, whatever side hustles afterwards, and you still buy it, then it's on you. I have no empathy for you whatsoever. But when you get these emails and these comments, it really is just like, dude, you saved up $2-3 grand. It took a lot of time for you to save up, and now you just spent half of it for nothing.
It's crazy. I was going to add as well, my opinion is when you start something new, you should find someone that's done it and done it successfully. And literally follow their blueprint, copy and paste exactly what they've done. So find someone like yourself that's done it. Follow them to the T, and then once you've made it, you can then start updating and doing your own spin on it.
Well, to be honest, when I started, I bought a course. I bought a course, and what's interesting, it was quite a bit of, hey, can you help me out, and so on and so forth. But for me personally, paying that money, I was just like, in the thought process, well, I just spent this amount of money, and if it doesn't work, like, I just wasted the money, right? I have to at least try, right? I have to at least give it my best effort, because if you don't spend it, at least in my mindset, if you don't spend anything and you just watch YouTube videos, number one, you're not getting all of the information. That's just a fact. And number two is just like, there is no skin in the game. There is nothing. It's just like you're watching videos, and a lot of people will just get caught up in watching videos for month after month after month without taking any action. But if you bought a course or a mentorship and you have somebody there telling you, hey, do X, Y, and Z. This is the plan. This is the deadline. We will have a call at the end of this month. You really don't want to disappoint that person at the end of that month. Be like, I had X, Y, and Z to do. I don't do it, whatever. And it's just like, well, it's,
That's it. Cool. So I wanted to ask you, say I wanted to start tomorrow. How much do I need to start with FBA?
To start, it's a good question, because there is something having too little and there is something having too much. Okay. Ideally, you're looking for anything between £2,000 to £3,000. And the reason why I say it's too little, because if you go for, let's say, under £2,000, then you are limited with the amount of products you're going to buy. Because you have to get 500-600 units of inventory from China.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if it's expensive on Amazon, it's expensive on Alibaba, and you simply won't be able to afford it.
Yeah.
And you need to have some money for restock as well. If you have too much, and I have people, saying, hey, I got 10 grand, right? Let's go. I'm just like, whoa, chill out. You've got no experience.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Me as a mentor right now, what we're going to do is we're going to put 5 of that grand to savings. We're going to prove the business model to you first and foremost. You gain the experience, and then we will reinvest more in later on. Okay? Don't do something stupid that put 10 grand into a few products or into like a really expensive product. Spend money on advertising and then just lose all. Right? So as a mentor, I have to think about not just, how to make sure that he makes money, but also how to make sure that his risk is adjusted as little as possible. I think the ideal budget for people is anything between 2 to 3 grand. But that being said, I myself started with 1.2.
Yeah.
And made it work.
So I think that's where I went wrong, because I started with about 5K. And
Too much.
And I went for yoga mats, which I was buying at like $18.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize, I need a lot of money to really get profit here.
Exactly. And this is where, like, for example, the risk is so high compared to the reward. You would have learned exactly the same lessons as you did with yoga mats with a product that was $1, $2. And the thing is, there are cases where you can start off very, very little. Like, for example, during COVID, one of the products that I was selling really well, it wasn't the face masks that people were using, because that was a medical product and it was gated. But I thought was, what about the strings? Because people are making their masks themselves, right? And I was buying these strings, I was air shipping them, 30 cents each. After fees, everything, I was making £3. So 1,000% return on investment, and my initial inventory was like 200 quid.
Wow.
Right? Now, these products don't come around too often. But it can happen, right? And a few of my students have exactly the same sort of results as well. But like they can happen, but ideally it's anything between 2 to 3 grand.
2 to 3 grand. Okay, cool. And then I think the hardest bit is finding the product.
Yes.
So I think I spent weeks trying to find products.
Yep.
What is there, like a trick or like a strategy to make it?
There is not really much of a trick, to be completely honest, because what people will tell you always is, whenever you watch one of these big gurus, they'll say, hey, high demand, low competition.
Yeah.
And it's just like, when you have some critical thinking, just put your thinking hat on. Again, you think, okay, well, how can something be high demand but had no competition? Like, how does that work? Eventually, if it does happen, then eventually the competition will catch up. That's just the nature of the marketplace. So instead of having high demand and low competition, you need to think about, okay, here's a category. How can I stand out from the rest of the competition? How can I make myself different? It can be with images, it can be with the actual product, it can be with the price. And certain products just won't work out. Like, for example, and I don't even need to look at the statistics for this. Toothpicks. How are you going to stand out? It's won't.
Impossible.
It's just the nature of the product.
Black toothpicks.
They're probably there already. You know what I mean? But it's just like certain products just won't do it because just the nature of the product. But there are loads of products on Amazon that keep bringing out new features, new inventory, and so on. And there's a trick, something that I can tell for people, is that sometimes what you want to do is go onto the American marketplace, go into Germany, go into Italy, go into France, see what products they have and what's selling there, and is there anything that they sell there that's not on UK that you can bring out.
So our market tends to follow the US, right?
US, absolutely. So usually, if you want to predict what's going to happen in the UK, just look in the Americas.
Sick. Okay. And then, like, in terms of tools, Jungle Scout, is that actually a good tool to use?
So Jungle Scout was what I started off with, and then I moved on to Helium 10. Jungle Scout is primarily used for product research and nothing else, right? And what I like about Helium 10 instead is that you use it for product research, you use it for making sure you're still in inventory. It has quite a few tools. You do the email templates. So, for example, when a customer buys your product, in order for you to leave a review, it will automatically send a review request email. So there are many, many tools, not just for product research, but you also actually get to manage the business, right? But the most important one for me is that Helium 10 provides much more accurate figures than Jungle Scout. So if, let's say, my product is selling 10 grand, right, a month, I can see it because it's my product. Jungle Scout will say it's selling 3. Or it might say it's selling 16, right? Whereas Helium 10 is much closer. It's not going to be bang on the money. It never is. But it will be anything between 8 to 12.
It's
8
a
to
good
13.
indicator, isn't it?
And this sort of information is vital for you to actually make a decision as that, hey, does this product have demand or not?
Yeah.
You know, because if you look at Jungle Scout, my product is selling $3,000 in your opinion.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably not going to go for it.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to go for 16 and you see 16, it's just like, oh, wow, this is amazing. It doesn't have any reviews. Let's go. And then next thing you know is that, hey, because you went on the cheap and went for software that isn't as most accurate, you may be making a bad business decision.
Yeah, that's true, actually. And then why could I not? So for me, say I want to start Amazon, could I not come to you and say, give me a product that I can sell tomorrow?
Well, the reality is, if I was going to try and sell my course and mentorships as much as possible, not a problem.
Yeah.
I'll take care of you, no problem. Give me the money and I'll send you the product. And I'll send you exactly the same product. What other people do is they will send one student that product and then send the same product to the second student, third product, fourth, whatever. Yeah. Everybody was going to get the same product. Yeah. The reality is, business is, nothing is guaranteed. No. Nothing is guaranteed, right? So with a mentorship and a course, you are reducing the amount of potential mistakes that you'll be making, right? Mistakes that could have been easily avoided that you would know with experience. Yeah. So you are buying somebody's help and experience to avoid mistakes. Now, does that mean a guaranteed success? Hell no. Hell no. Of course. Because at the end of the day, think about it. It's kind of like having a PT. The PT will tell you what to do, but whether or not you get results depends on you. If you don't put in the work, nothing's going to work, right? So I could potentially say, hey, here's the products. I'll take your money and that's it. But the reality is just like what works right now may not even work 6 months from now either, you know, because what you buy, the trend may change, consumer demand may change. Like, for example, one of the products, anything to do with activity, fitness, was doing extremely well during COVID because everybody now had to stay at home and they had to stay in shape somewhere, right? Which is why you saw things like yoga mats, skipping ropes, all of these things go through the roof. Yeah. Whereas travel was terrible. Yeah. Because travel was just like, well, nobody's traveling, right? So if you bought a product that's in the travel niche and all of a sudden COVID hits, and all of a sudden now you can't fly anywhere, and I was personally impacted by this, no one's going to buy your luggage or your travel cases or your luggage locks or whatever. So that's where the risk comes in, but we try to mitigate those as much as possible.
So does it make sense to look for products that will, like evergreen kind of products you can sell whenever? Yeah.
So there is, with every decision, there is a pro and a con. So for example, if you sell a product that goes well throughout the year, then it's good. You have the stability, but usually the profit margins are not as good. Yeah. If you go for products that, let's say, for example, in camping, right? Camping usually works better in summer than it does in winter for obvious reasons. So you will usually look at categories in camping where people may oversee, because they will look at, when you look at helium-10, you look at the 30 days previous data. Yeah. But what you don't think about sometimes is what's going to happen in the future. So for example, right now in January, every single product in the toy category is going to look amazing. Because why? Because Christmas, people were buying toys. But does that make it a good purchase later down the line? Probably not. Yeah. Not for, at least for the first 2 quarters or so. Yeah. So you have to use these tools, but you also have to use a little bit of your common sense and Google Trends and various other things as to what do you think is going to happen in the future. That's true. Because I said during COVID, guys, start thinking about travel. Because the second COVID stops, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to go on holiday, right? Guess that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. So you have to use your common sense a little bit, think outside the box to really get ahead.
Because consumers' behavior is quite predictable, isn't it? Like,
to a certain degree, yes. Yeah. To a certain degree, yes. I mean, sometimes it's quite hard because right now with the recession that we're having, the interest rates rising, everything, I thought people will be a lot more frugal than they are. Right? You still go out to Central right now during Boxing Day and Christmas, whatever. Shops are rammed. And I'm thinking, where's the money coming from? Where's the money? I don't want to buy this stuff. Like, I feel like I need to, tighten my belt up a little bit. Where are you guys getting this money from? And I was wrong, right? I thought you need to now look at only items that people will buy no matter what time of the year it is. Or no matter how tough their financial situation is. I'll give you an example. Baby products. If you're having a kid,
you need baby products.
You will need baby products regardless of if you're making 500, 1,000, 1,500 pounds, right? So that potentially may be a niche to look into. But it turns out people still want to go party.
It's true, man. And in terms of like where to start, so I've always found that following my passion has always helped. So like in terms of products, if I'm into the gym, would I look at that as my niche?
Potentially, yes. It's a yes or a no answer because there is a pro and a con. So if you're like, say, for example, passionate about gym, you may go into products that are very competitive. For example, let's say you're passionate in yoga mats. Well,
Yeah.
yoga mats may not be the best thing,
Yeah.
right? And that may be a hindrance. The positive of being passionate about something is usually you have a very good idea of what a good product should be like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, however, in my personal opinion, like I said, my very first product was tanning mitts. Am I passionate about tanning? Hell no. I do not care at all.
Have you had a tan before?
No, never. Would never do that. But what I care about is what sells.
Yeah.
What I can differentiate myself on and
True.
what sells, right? So, like for example, let's say you're a car mechanic, and I actually have had a car mechanic, and he starts looking into the automotive industry, right? And I'm like, cool, not a problem. But all of the products in that industry are very expensive and
Yeah.
heavy. And he was starting with $2,000, and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I know you want to start here,
Yeah.
but not the best. So yes, you can start with it, but that doesn't mean that'll be the product that you buy.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, cool. So I found my product. How would you find a supplier, and where would you get your supply from?
Yeah. So from private label, ideally most of the time suppliers will come from either Alibaba or AliExpress or 1688. And this is where you find basically suppliers right now in China that you basically, for those of you that don't know, Alibaba is effectively like Chinese Amazon, but it's not for everyday customer. It's more like for factories and trading companies and wholesalers to sell to the rest of the world, right? And this is where we come in and actually buy their products from them. The reason why I like Alibaba over pretty much everything else is kind of you have a little bit of a protection. If the product's quality sucks, if they don't come in on time or they get lost, you will get a refund.
Yeah.
And I have requested 5 refunds, I believe, and all of them went through. So that sort of a little bit protection helps.
Yeah.
Now, I could be buying like, I don't know, another Asian country or whatever, but because I'm sending the money directly to the supplier without any intermediary, I don't have that protection, which is why I like Alibaba, because if anything were to go wrong, I have some sort of security.
Yeah, 100%. That's actually the first product I started to sell. So like, I was into skateboarding when I was like 13, 14. So I imported motorized skateboards.
Yeah.
So they had a petrol engine on the back of the skateboard.
Yeah, nice.
So I brought it over now. I started selling it in literally going to streets and also on eBay.
Love that.
So I was making a decent amount of money, but I didn't check the regulation, so it wasn't CE marked, which is like the electronic European regulation.
Yeah.
So I couldn't actually sell the product, but I thought the supplier had sorted it out.
Yeah. So what happens is the CE mark basically means is that once the product hits the UK or European Union, you are officially responsible for that product. If something goes wrong, it's your neck on the line, not theirs.
Yeah.
Some CE mark usually is just a confirmation. It's a little sticker that you stick on, and by that you agree that you take full responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And again, it's a perfect example is that, hey, if somebody had a mentorship like that, I would ask, hey, do you have the CE mark? If you don't, most people will be like, what the hell is it? Right?
Yeah.
And for me, I would actually ask them and then potentially avoid a very expensive mistake.
Exactly. So through like trial and error, I've realized that you need to find someone that's done it.
Yeah.
And you need to follow their blueprint.
I think that goes for pretty much any industry. If you're in social media, you want to follow somebody that's done it.
Literally.
If you're in property, ideally you want advice from somebody else, right? And I think for me personally, I'm now in a fortunate position where I can network with people that have done relatively well in different fields. And if I ever want to move into, let's say, UK property market, I have X, Y, and Z to speak to.
Yeah.
If I want to go more into social media or let's say Snapchat, I have people that I can speak to and get some advice, right? Because it just increases the learning process, it speeds it up that much faster, and it reduces the amount of why do you have to make mistakes when you can learn from other people's mistakes?
It's so true, man. And then I was going to ask you, have any like tips you can give away on how to drive sales, how to boost your rankings on Amazon?
Tips. So the number one tip is to take it seriously. So that by that I mean is that I understand you may not believe in it as much as you would like to, but give it your all, okay? The attitude of this is good enough is not good enough, right? You need to be perfect. It needs to stand out. It needs to be better than everybody else. You need to ask your friends or family or complete stranger, would you buy from this? And they have to be like, Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. That means the images have to be amazing. If you don't know how to do images, get somebody to do the images for you, because that's number one. The title needs to be catchy, captivating, and straight to the point. The key features not only have to be for SEO purposes, i.e. ranking, but it's more so just to actually sell the product. People forget that, oh yeah, I'm speaking to this for the algorithm. No, people will read this as well. You know, you have to actually make sure that you sell the product as best as you can. And a lot of people, in my opinion, is just like, whenever I see like a student comes in and it's already selling, but I'm not making any sales, the number one, straight away, I'm like, let's see the images. Because 9 times out of 10, they are terrible. They will use the Chinese suppliers images,
Just
which
Photoshop
it, or they don't even bother Photoshop it. They just copy and paste those images on, and they will have spelling mistakes. They are not catchy at all, and they just don't have that I have to give it all kind of attitude, you know. And the Chinese are terrible at making images.
Because you got to think about the customer. Because there's loads of times when I've gone into a product, the images are like Chinese language, and I'm not buying that. Straight
away, or like a spelling mistake. And it's like, if the product is 20-30 pounds and you can't even bother to make a listing that doesn't have spelling mistakes, why on earth would I buy from you?
Yeah. It's true.
It's simple as that.
It's true. So just moving forwards, what do you see is like the opportunities for 2023 in terms of Amazon?
In terms of Amazon, I mean, online, I think COVID...
Like, is it saturated, basically?
It's never going to be saturated.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. It's never going to be saturated. I think the biggest competition for Amazon, in my personal opinion, eventually, is when Shopify, Google, Facebook start their own networking, and not networking, but fulfillment centers. Once they have started their own fulfillment centers and they can provide that one-day shipping, delivery, that's when things will get a little bit interesting. But for us Amazon FBA sellers, that's a good thing. Because then, I can sell on eBay and they may do fulfillment center. I can sell on Shopify and they will do fulfillment. I can sell on Google. I can sell on Facebook. Like, I now don't have to depend on just one marketplace, one source of income. Amazon may be in trouble, but I won't. Right? So all of a sudden, then you start seeing them competing against each other, maybe reducing their fees, maybe reducing their storage fees. Whereas right now you have this one ginormous company that pretty much rules e-commerce. So that's the opportunity for us, basically potentially, to branch out to other things, right? And because we have the experience of selling online, it shouldn't be too difficult to do so. You literally just go from one product on one marketplace to that product to 5 marketplaces or different countries. So that's the first thing. And I think also just online e-commerce in general is just going to continue to grow, because COVID, like I said, it has given people an idea of how amazing shopping online is. You know, if you don't like it, you can refund it, not a problem. Buy something, comes in the next day. You know, you don't have to queue up. You know, just take Black Fridays, for example. I'm sure you still remember the days where you used to have to queue up at 5-6 o'clock in the morning to get the best possible deal.
Argos,
What happens now? Nothing. They're dead, because all the deals are in the morning on the website.
It's
know.
True.
So because of that sort of change, and it will continue to head that way even further, we will see more retail shops closing down. You've seen John Lewis closing down some of them, Debenhams closed down, you know, Woolworths and all these other shops that used to be big in retail, you know, foot traffic and everything. Because that has dropped down, and because they can't afford their leases anymore, they have to close down. Why? Because online is taken over. And you can either be part of that online takeover or just sit on the sidelines.
It's quite sad, though, isn't it? Like,
it is sad to a certain degree, but I think a lot of things are sad. But it's kind of like it's just moving off with the times. You either accept it or you don't. You know, it's sad that there are going to be no more petrol cars in 20 years' time, right? It's sad what social media is doing to us, as opposed to having face-to-face interactions. We're now buried in our phones. But that's just where the market is going, and you can either complain about it and fight the ban, or just move with it.
100%. So I also feel like social commerce is going to become quite a big one. I think we spoke about it in the last episode. But if you think about where you spend most of your time, it's on TikTok,
100%.
on Instagram.
100%.
That's where the purchase decisions are going to be made now.
Yeah. And this is where I personally think, and a little bit away from Amazon, but big companies, Coca-Cola, they have to worry because Prime came out a year ago and they're making millions because of Logan Paul and KSI. It's the influencer marketing, right? MrBeast burger. McDonald's should be worried because this guy just out of nowhere got 1,000 restaurants, ghost restaurants, right? Because of his name. And I think we are heading in that direction where more like Sidemen, I think, got like a burger joint as well that now starting up as well. And they get customers pretty much immediately because of that because of the reason why that we're on our phones all the time.
Yeah.
We connect with these people. We have watched them for years.
Yeah.
And it's something that Coca-Cola doesn't have.
Yeah.
Something that McDonald's doesn't have. Their business model worked in 1990s, 2000s, but now it's getting harder. So
People want more connection, don't they?
Exactly. And they want to know who are they supporting by buying from that person.
100%.
And you can see actually so I don't know if you've seen some of these TikToks on people, literally 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds in Asda, just waiting for the Asda shops to open up so they can run for a Prime drink. And I'm like, if that doesn't teach you how important branding, marketing, and advertising is, nothing will.
Yeah.
If you have these kids literally cramming amongst each other just to get a drink, is insane.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
The amount of influence these personalities have is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and Coca-Cola must be thinking, bloody hell.
Yeah.
We want that. But
So I guess it's important as well for Amazon to like align with influencers and personalities.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. To a certain degree, yes. I think Amazon is a little bit of a different situation because the marketplace is there. When you're buying from Amazon, people, first of all, they don't even know they're buying from a UK supplier sometimes.
Yeah.
They're there. When you click on Amazon, usually you have your credit card in your hand ready to buy. They don't care so much about influencer marketing or anything like that. But if you're setting up your own website, if you are going to do anything outside of Amazon where you have to build up your own name, then having online presence is like crucial.
100%. Completely agree. So for you, moving forwards, what's like your plan or your goal for the next few years? Where are you trying to get to?
Yeah, so the next few years, so what I've realized is that a lot of people that are interested in Amazon FBA, they're interested in finance and they're interested in making their life better and have a bit more financial security. And I have been studying finance, economics, taxes, Amazon FBA, different side hustles for like almost 10 years now, right?
Wow.
And I believe because I am only known as Amazon FBA, I kind of want to start slowly moving away from that and start teaching people, I'll be honest, what they should have been taught in school. You know, what they should have been taught in school in terms of taxes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how much does this actually cost me? If I start up a side business, will I save on taxes? If I start up a side business in Dubai, can I save on corporation tax? Like, how do you manage your expenses? You know, because the reality is whatever you can measure, you can manage. When was the last time you looked at your bank statement? You know, and figured out, hey, this is nonsense expense. This is nonsense expense. Have you realized how much money you're spending on subscriptions every month?
I haven't done that for like 5 years.
And the perfect example, right? And you'll be amazed at how much money you can save by just cutting out a couple of things, right? Or potentially just changing it up. Car financing. People think that car financing is the best way and paying 12% interest rate. When you go to a bank and you can get the same finance for 4%, 5%, you know? So these sort of little tips and tricks I'm going to start speaking a little bit more just to help people on a day-to-day basis manage their finances a little bit better for those that are interested. Because I think we generally should have been taught this in school.
And I feel like as well, the rich and successful, they know these things. They learn these things.
Absolutely.
It's kind of just sharing those strategies with normal people.
The number one demographic that uses coupon codes are millionaires.
Is it?
The ones that use discount codes, coupon codes, taste cards, all of these sort of things are millionaires.
Wow.
And you think, why? But that's how you get there.
Yeah.
You either have a saving problem or you have a making problem, spending like making money problem, right?
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah.
And most of the time, millionaires don't have either of those problems. They manage their finances very well. And the reality is also, in my opinion, if you can manage your finances early on, that just builds good habits for later down the line. If you feel like, this is why lottery winners go broke very, very quickly, because they don't know how to handle money. And that's what I want to teach, is how to actually handle money. Because the way you handle £100 isn't very different the way you handle £10,000 or £100,000. You still have to be very scrupulous with where your money goes. Otherwise, it will fly out very quickly.
100%, because whoever's had quite a bit of money before, it's very hard keeping money.
Absolutely.
Like, it literally just disappears.
Yeah, my grandma has got the best quote. Basically, there's a lot of people that have holes in their wallets. And any single time a little bit of money comes in, it just falls right out. One way or the other. Oh, I need a new jacket. Oh, I need new phones. I need whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, right, fine, you can do that. But are you aware of how much money is being spent on wants? Not needs, not essentials, but these wants. And sometimes you can realize just like, oh, shit, I spent $3,000. I spent $5,000 on this. It's just like, whoa. And it's like a big realization is just like, I'm spending way too much.
Yeah.
But also is like, okay, I want to speak a little bit more about, okay, if you're in such and such situation, what would I do? How would I make my first £1,000? How would I make my first £10,000? Like I said earlier, it's just index funds, maybe a great advice, but not for somebody that's 18 who's got £10 to their name.
Yeah.
You know, starting up a business may also be a good advice, but not if you're 60 and you've got millions in the bank and now you're going to take on all this stress and start at the very beginning. So, I think there's a lot for people to learn that they don't even know they need to learn.
Yeah, 100%.
Going forward. And with what's going on in the recession and everything, I think that's so important.
I guess you need both, don't you? You need to make the money and know how to keep it.
100%. And the reality is, nobody really teaches that.
No.
Nobody really teaches that.
Yeah, it's true.
Schools, it should be taught in schools, didn't do it. University didn't do it. YouTubers and finance gurus and everything, they will usually have a hidden agenda by certain things. You know, if somebody is promoting an index fund, at the end they'll be like, well, this video is sponsored by such and such who will provide index funds. You know, if it's a car financing, well, this video is sponsored by a financing team or whatever. I think being more aware of your finances is really important for people.
Yeah, 100%. So like our mission is always to help people, financial education, but also help people find real business opportunities. So to really get people from zero to where they can be fully entrepreneurial. So it probably aligns with you and like your mentorship and stuff like that.
The thing is, there's so many. Right now, these days, in my opinion, is even though it sounds weird, is probably the easiest time to start a business. We are living in the day and age where knowledge is readily available for anyone with an internet connection. Right? I'll be honest, and this may sound crazy. You may even be able to learn rocket science from the internet. Right?
Probably.
All of the information is there. You just need to know how to do it and need to start effectively, right? And there are a lot of like cliche business models out there, like the side hustles, e-commerce, Deliveroo, Uber Drive, and all these sort of things that you hear all the time. But if you just research and look down, there are so many opportunities that nobody even thinks of. And I'll give you an idea. So an example. If I were to start all the way at the very, very beginning now, I'm thinking, okay, where is the marketplaces going right now? Where is the economy heading? Well, we are all moving to electric cars, right? Electric cars. We are going to move on to Teslas and all these other cars, right? Well, do we have car garages for mechanical cars, petrol engine cars? Do we have any garages for electric cars?
That's a good point. I haven't seen
I don't have one either at all, right? So, okay, what can we do with electric cars? Well, there's not that much because there's a battery, but you can do modifications. You can do modification interior or exterior, right? You may not know how to code. I'm sure you can learn it and try and figure out how to improve the software, but if you can't, at least the exterior. And then once you actually figure out, because I'm looking right now for modifications on my Tesla, if anybody takes this video and actually goes ahead and does it, I'll be your first customer. I'll spend 4 figures to modify my Tesla.
What do you mean modify? Like just design?
The design of it, the paint work, the interior, some extra lights or something like that, because the interior is very basic, right? So just look into where the market is going, go with the tide, effectively, because there will be more and more cars, and then start thinking, okay, there's clearly going to be a lot of demand for it. What can I do to facilitate that? And the next thing you know, you will do a job for somebody. I will, post a TikTok or an Instagram reel or whatever. Somebody will ask, hey, where did you get that done? Next thing you know, you have orders left, right, and center. Now, it's much easier said than done. But what I'm saying is, given that the Americans can do it, which I have researched, they are doing it. Why can't you? Why can't the UK do it? Right? I have a friend who was he was working in Sainsbury's many years ago now. He was working in Sainsbury's, but he was very interested in BMWs. And he self-taught himself how to change the color of the headlights. Like, he was so into the software side of things of BMWs that only 2 people in the UK could do it. And he was like, as I was having dinner with him, he just had phone call after phone call after phone call.
Crazy, isn't it?
He went from working at Sainsbury's to having a flat in Camden, which is like $1 million.
For changing the headlights?
Not just changing the headlights, but basically anything to do with BMW electronics.
You
can put neon lights on, you can change the dashboard, you can change the headlights, you can change so many things, tune up the car, tune up the engine and everything. And now as we're moving to electric cars, you can do the same thing too, in my opinion, or at least do something, right? So there are so many, once you start researching as to what's happening in the marketplace, where are we heading to, why not? Why not?
100%.
Like, you can even think, sometimes you can actually, it sounds really bad, but you can make some sort of potential money from things that's going around, like war in Ukraine. Is there anything I can do with this particular situation to make a little bit of money? Petrol. Okay, maybe I should invest in petrol because clearly that's going to go up. And it did, right? These sort of things, you just need to be switched on as to what's happening and always keep in the back of your mind, hey, what can I do to...
And also, you don't have to be super like innovative because my cousin works at one of the big consultancy firms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his top 10 customers, which are billion-dollar businesses, they do like screws for like lorries or like headlights, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like really small things that aren't innovative.
100%.
But they're making billions.
100%.
So
100%. It's just being open to these opportunities, not discounting anything, and just looking into it deeper. And if you just, like I said, eliminate the distractions, forget all the negative noise that you may have from your friends and family. There's so many ways to make money in this day and age. Like I said, it's easier than it ever was before. 50, 60 years ago, if you're in communist Russia, you got government on your against you. Right? You didn't have internet. You did not have the knowledge. You need to know people and know the right people to actually get started. Financing was nowhere near as hard as easy as it is today. So right now is the easiest time. It's true. The easiest time.
100%. Completely agree. So where can people find you then, just to wrap it up?
Yes. So to wrap it up, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. I'm now started Twitter, given that Elon Musk is running it. We'll leave a
He's doing a terrible job, by the way.
Well, that's argumentative, to be completely honest, as well. You know what? Cutting off 70% of the workforce and Twitter's still running. Clearly, that's a decent business decision because
ruthless.
You are ruthless, but at the same time, you have to cut costs. So
that's true.
There's two opinions, I guess, to that as well. But you can find me on any of those social media networks effectively. And most importantly, I would just keep on putting out more content to help people just help with their finances, whether it's ideas for side hustles, whether it's managing their finances, whether it's just making more money. Yeah,
nice. Make sure you check out Ben. He's got some really good content, as he said. Some step-by-step tutorials that take you through the whole process of Amazon. Hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Make sure you follow venture_room on Instagram, and also subscribe to the YouTube as well. See you in the next one.